Hi, everybody, and welcome to Tech Tips with James the Tech. I'm going to be going over some interactive storytelling using the app Ink. It's an open source free app that you can find online. If you're wanting to set it up, if you're just tuning in for the first time, it can be set up using. If you go back a couple of episodes, so go to the Richmond Public Library's YouTube video. You can watch all the episodes right from the start, and you can find out how to install it. Today's kind of a special episode that I'm going to be putting on, and I'm going to be putting it on because I want to show you how to delve a little bit more into variables because it's such a big topic and it's such a really important part of the game. And we're going to learn how to make the program. What I'm kind of thinking of actually is making the program allow you to choose sort of character classes so that you don't have to just be one type of person. We last time on Thursday we made it so that you could roll for your stats and it gave you bonuses instead of just numbers. And so what I want to do this week, or not this week, what I want to do today is Sable turning it into if you want to play either a wizard, a rogue, or warrior, one of the three. So with that said, I'm just actually going to throw up because I don't have it on here um, uh, the chat so that I can see it, just in case anybody has any questions and you're wanting to you're wanting to ask me anything. Um, so here, just 1 second here. Do. There it is, and there's the chat. All right. So okay. So now I've got the chat up. So if you are curious, you have a question, I've gone through something, you're really not sure, you want me to go into a little bit more, throw it up onto the chat, and I will. I'll get into a little bit more. So just to show you again, this is what the app kind of looks like when you export it as HTML. And 2 Thursdays from now, I'm going to show you how to take this HTML and turn it into an actual app that can be put onto your phone. And it's going to be an APK app which can be used on Android phones. I won't be showing you how to do it for iPhones because unfortunately with iPhones you need a special license to do it. That's definitely not in the library budget. So all of these choices are clickable. And this is what I want to show you is this is the character creation I have right now. So you can choose your pronoun, and then it throws up the stats for you so that you know it's different every time, and then you just continue. What I want to do now is instead of just having it go there, I want to have it so that you can either choose to be, like I said, either a rogue warrior or a wizard, and then that would, of course, affect your strength, intelligence, dexterity, and maybe your constitution too. I'm gonna sort of think about that, how I want my game to go. So I'm gonna switch over to the Ink app, and the Ink app looks like there we go. So the Ink app looks like this, and then again on the right hand side you have those clickable links. So because I exported it as HTML for to look at it in terms of the web to see how it was looking and how it was working, whatever changes I make here in the app are not going to reflect in the HTML unless I export it again. And I think what I'm going to try to do here is I'm actually going to here, hold on. There we go. Export for web. What I want to, I'm gonna. Oops. It's actually really the one limitation that I have when I'm unfortunately using I use OBS to put this into into the Twitch stream, and unfortunately I can't, the pop-up menu that happens when you click file so that I can show you how to do that isn't actually showing up right now. So I'm not going to worry about that because that's not really what I really want to get into today anyway. I will get into that 2 weeks from now. So if you're really curious, definitely tune in. So here we go. So continue your character to create your character, choosing my pronouns. And then here's how it creates, and then that's it. So I have in my files, over first there's the main file. So this is like the main one. This is where I have all of my variables set, and and well, actually just all my variables set and all my include files. Include files tells the app these are all the files that belong to this game. So the important one here is create a character, and so I have, what is your preferred pronoun, and then it goes into role stats. So what I'm, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the person choose the character class first, and then it's going to roll the stats. And depending upon what class you choose, that's going to affect the stats that you've rolled. So in order to create a stitch, the stitch is the portion of the game of the app where your particular thing is happening. So for example, for choosing character class, two equal signs is a sub stitch. Three equal signs would be a main stitch. I don't want a main stitch. I want a sub stitch. And a substitch has to, so two equal signs has to go underneath three equal signs. So you'll see up at the top, create character is three equal signs, so that's a main stitch. And then here I have two equal signs, which is a substitch. So I'm going to call this class choice. And now I have to make a change because right from what is your preferred pronoun, I go right into role stats. So now actually what I wanted to do is go from role stats. Instead of that, I'm going to have to go into class choice. And of course, there's nothing in class choice, which is why it's giving me this error. So I need to fix that. So how about just something very simple? I'm going to say, what would, or actually, what is your occupation? And then to give it a choice, asterisk, and we're going to have rogue, asterisk, wizard, asterisk, warrior. And then I'm going to need some more substitches. So one of the substitches is going to be rogue. One of them is going to be wizard. And the other one is going to be warrior. And rogue is going to be, okay, so for rogue, I want I'm just trying to think if there's anything actually special to rogue other than just affecting the stats that I really want. And to be honest, I don't think there is. So you know what? I think what is your occupation? What's going to actually happen is, so I'm not going to have substitches here after all. What I'm going to do instead is under rogue, I'm going to tell it that. So I'm going to have to make three more variables. So the variables I'm going to make are rogue, wizard, and warrior, and to do that, I need to go to my main file, which is Lich King Inc. I have these all under specific comments. So at the bottom, I have, oh, actually, I must put it at the top here. Let's see. I have stats. There we go. So under stats, I'm now going to make three more variables. So I'm going to make var for variable, space, rogue, and that's going to equal to 0, 0, and then variable wizard is also going to be equal to 0. Variable warrior, and that is also equal to 0. So now we have those three new variables, and those variables are going to go into create character. So under rogue, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a tilde, because a tilde tells the program that I'm about to change the variable. I'm about to give that variable a new value. So tilde rogue space equals, and I'm going to say that if you are actually, you know what, I'm just for right now I can just say it equals 2, and then that's going to be for everything, and then it's going to go to roll stats, and the minus sign greater than sign is kind of go to, and then roll stats is this sub tilde this sub stitch under right here. And so I think so the rogue is going to have better dexterity. So right now when you roll your stats, dexterity is equal to a random number between 1 and 5. And actually, you know what, I'm going to make it between 1 and 6, because it's kind of like you're rolling a 6-sided dice. So what this does is it randomly chooses between 1 and 6. Your hit points are random between 5 and 10, and that's the same for every character. So instead of that, I think that's where that's also what changes between my character classes here. So what I'm going to do here is under Rogue, when it changes Rogue to equal 2, it's also going to change the hit points to be a random between 1 and 6. And that's going to be, actually I'm going to make it 1 to 8. 1 to 8. So it's like rolling that die 8. And under Dexterity, it's going to be random, roll a d6, so in parentheses 1 comma 6. And then I'm going to say plus Rogue. And so so Rogue is 2 and you roll a 6, then your Dexterity is now 8. But or if you roll a 2 under Dexterity and you're a Rogue, then your Dexterity is 4. And so that's going to be that. If I wanted there to be like a minimum Dexterity, I could say 3 to 6, but these for me, for purposes of my program, are actually just bonuses. So it's not like an actual tabletop role playing game where you're rolling 3d6 for 1 to 18, and then if you get a 12, that equals plus 3. I'm just going right to the bonuses. So you roll a d6, that's your bonus. Otherwise, for purposes of this, it's unnecessarily complicated in my opinion. Um, Tabletop role playing games, it's fun, but as a programmer right now, not so much. Okay, so for Wizard, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste sort of everything that I just did there, because it's almost all the same stuff. But I have to change the Wizard variable, or the Rogue variable, to Wizard, and Wizard is also going to equal to the hit points for Wizard are going to be between 1 and 6, and you know what? Yeah. Okay, so hit points are actually 1 to 6. It's not a bonus like it is on the stats. So if you get a 1, your character, it's not going to be fun for the person playing it. So I'm actually going to say between 3 and 6. And same with this. The minimum hit points you can have is 3. The maximum you can have is 8. And then it's going to go to roll stats. And then oh, okay. And here's the other thing I just realized too is, oh no, this is gonna work. Okay, so if you choose Wizard and it's plus 2, and then when it rolls the stats here where it says Dexterity is equal between 1 and 6, if you roll a 1 and you've chosen Wizard, Rogue is still going to be equal to 0, that variable. So that means it's not going to affect anything. So intelligence is what the wizard is going to need. So I'm going to say plus wizard, and then strength. I already know that's going to be plus warrior. And so let's do the warrior here. So warrior is going to be equal to 2 hit points. Again, I don't want it between 1 and 8. And actually, it's between 1 to 12 for warrior. A minimum of 3, because again, I want it to be fun. And you know what? If I want it to be fun, I'm going to make the wizard between 3 and 8, and I'm going to make the rogue between 3 and 10. Because I do have some creatures in here that they'll just take you out right away, and we want it to be fun. You can see on the right hand side here, it's already working out, right? What is your occupation? So here, let's go back a choice. So I'm going to say my preferred pronoun. What is your occupation? I want to be a rogue, and then rogue is I just rolled plus 2, plus 6, plus 7, plus 6. My health is 10. Oh, I rolled really good on my health. And then I can continue, and this is my character. There's only one image right now that it chooses, and if you, depending upon your pronoun, that's how it chooses the image. But actually, I think what I'm going to do is, or what I can do, I won't do it right now, is I can find a whole bunch of images. I've been using Pixabay because Pixabay is a good resource for non-copyright images, and I'm going to maybe have a bunch of images, so then I can that way it's not always the same image either. And I think that's a little bit better. I'm going to take a little drink of water here. There we go. All right, so then I can continue, and then if I continue the game starts off as normal, and eventually when I go into the dungeon, I have the choice of check my stats and supplies. So here's my stats, and again here's the character that I just rolled. So that's the other thing that I wanted to change to was um, having it say check your stats and supplies. Well, mind you, okay, to make it more obvious, because that's also where you can equip your sword, like you can draw your sword and stuff too. So I think to make that a little bit more obvious, what I'm going to say is, because I could actually make the like where you draw your sword or change your armor and things like that. I could actually make that its own thing and say use your equipment, because sometimes I think when you want to check your stats, you just want quick, what are my stats. You don't necessarily want to check your equipment every single time you're checking your stats. So to do that, and unfortunately you're not going to see this, so I'm going to walk you through it. You go up to File on the top left-hand side, and there's something called a New Included Ink file, and you can click that, and then you get a choice down at the bottom where you can see that where it says, oh, hold on. I moved the window unfortunately, and suddenly OBS got confused. So there we go. So you can see there on the bottom, it has enter new ink name. I'm going to call this one equip. And then if I go to my Lich King ink file, the included file is now at the bottom. I'm trying to keep track. I want things to be beside each other, which makes it easier to fix the program when I need to. And I'm going to put it under stats, equipment inventory, and then include equip. Unfortunately, until I exit the program and come back into it, it's not going to show up in the right place on the left hand side right now. It's still going to be here on the bottom. For today, I'm just going to deal with that. That's fine. So I'm going to create a main stitch. So 3 equal signs. Call it equip. And I don't have to reprogram the entire thing because I've actually already programmed it. So I'm going to take it from equipment and inventory. And okay, so weapons check. How much of this do I not want here? How much of it? I think you'd want to still check your armor or your equipment. No, actually, you know what? I'm gonna put all of this in the other one. So okay, so um, inventory choices. Checks the cursed weapon. Because I have it that if you have a cursed weapon, you can't just go to equipment and not use it. You're forced to use it until you find something to take the curse off. So I'm going to copy all of this. And if you're wondering what I just copied, you can actually go back a couple of episodes and watch where we changed all of the equipment coding. So here now I'm going to go down to equip, and I'm going to put it all in here. And okay, this is fine for now. So under equip, it's giving it. Okay, so check or switch your armor. So now instead of that going to check cursed armor, that's going to go to equip. But to be honest, I probably won't have it here. I think I'll have it as another choice under here. So if I return to the quest, and I might have confused it just because I just basically okay. So because I have an error up here, it won't run on the right hand side for me to test it because it's not working. So I need to fix that first. So here I'll finish what I'm doing here. Check or use your magic items. Return to the quest. Okay, so all of that is good. I actually want to make sure that return to the quest is also under equip, which is down here. So let's just see. So now what I want to do is I want to make sure that this is going to work properly as a standalone stitch. And let's see. So equip. So it's going to go to check curse. Oh, okay. So the reason why it's giving me this error is because check cursed weapon being a stitch. There's nothing telling it to go to a stitch. I have a stitch here. So something will go to here. And then all of a sudden it's got another stitch and doesn't know what to do. Because technically the equip stitch ends where the next stitch begins. So I'm going to take this one out. and then it's probably looking for check cursed weapon. So instead of that, wherever I have check cursed weapon, I'm actually going to change that to equip because that's where the check is. So let's just see here. Equipment inventory, check cursed armor, equipment inventory. Okay, so actually if I want to look for where it is, I can just go to the error. I can click on it here. It's on line 23. And equip. Okay, so now, boom, it works. Woohoo! That's exciting. Okay, so now that that's working over here, I'm going to take a look at equip, and I'm going to make sure that this is actually going to work the way that I want it to work. So so you're in equipment inventory. So here on the right hand side, let's sort of walk through with the game itself. So I go to continue to create your character. I choose my pronoun. I decide on my occupation. I'm going to be a wizard. And then I can continue and continues the story. And make sure I don't exit the game. And I'm just going to say be on your way because I want to test this out first over here. So continue, continue. Okay, so now I have the choice of take the south door, follow the corridor, check stats and supplies. So if I do that, check your stats. Here's your stats. Continue. You're carrying. That tells me what I'm carrying. Check or switch your weapons. Check or switch your armor. Check or use your magic items and tools. Return to the quest. Okay, so this is over here on the right hand side is really what I want to condense, right? Because it's a whole lot of choices for just wanting to find out what's my health. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to equipment inventory, and here where it says check or switch your weapons, I'm going to change that to check or switch, check or use an item. And instead of check, maybe list or use an item. I'll see how that sort of sounds. I'll feel it out. We don't need the armor one there because that's going to be in the next one. Check or use magic items. Don't need that there. Return to the quest. You need return to the quest. So now look. Now we've got two options. List or use an item. Yeah, I don't like the way that sounds. I'm gonna think about that. If anybody watching has an idea, please put it in the chat. Let me know what you're thinking because it would be great to have some more heads in on this one. Okay, so now I can return to the quest. But what I want to do is go to list or use an item to see if what I just did worked. So let's find out. So I'll go list or use an item. Your weapons, obviously your hands and feet. Use your fists and feet. Okay, so here's the issue: is that what I wanted to do is to give me a choice, right, of either using looking at the weapons, the armor, or the magic items or tools. So what I could have done to make it easier on myself is before I deleted everything, I actually could have copied and pasted it over, but it's super easy to do, so it doesn't, at the end of the day, to be honest, it doesn't matter. That's a tiny little thing. So equip, here's what I'm going to do. So I need three choices here. So one, and you remember the square brackets means when you choose it, the text inside the brackets disappears. If you don't use the square brackets, the text in the bracket stays there forever, which sometimes can be handy, sometimes it's not. You don't, this is the other thing too, is that if you use an asterisk as your choice, the asterisk can only be used once and it disappears after use, which again can be useful, but in this case it's actually going to wreck the game. Plus sign makes it a sticky choice, and that means it's going to stay there every single time the person goes to this. So I'm going to have use a weapon, use a, use armor, use armor now, wear armor, and use an item. That makes it nice and simple, really clean. That's good. Okay, so use a weapon is going to go to weapons check, and what we want to do is we want to find out if... Oh, okay. And I see something else I gotta do here too. Okay, so we want to find out if something's cursed. So after they choose use a weapon, it's going to go through here. So the squiggly bracket is, and the minus sign over here is your if then uh, coding. So, and if you're wondering how to use that exactly, again, last episode we really went into that, but I'll go over it really quickly right now. So open squiggly bracket, minus sign, and then the variable. So the variable is a underscore curse weapon. So what that means is the minus sign is if the variable a curse weapon is greater than 0. So, or if you wanted to, if you knew for a fact that it was either 0 or 1, I could have also gone equal to 1, and then so it's saying if it's always equal to 1, but I know that you can find multiple curse things, so you could have a curse value of 2, 3, 4, so forth. So I'm going to leave it at if it's greater than 0, because 0 means you're not cursed, 1 or over means you're cursed, then it says you are cursed and cannot change your weapons. You are carrying, and then it tells you you're carrying a cursed sword. Inventory choices, instead of that, it's going to go to equip. Other than that, it'll go to weapons check, which is right down here. So that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. So I also need that for the armor. I just realized I spelled armor with too many A's. So keep in mind, always, ink does not spell check you. So if, you really got to pay attention to what's happening, get somebody else to proofread it. So I'm going to put the same if statement in here, but instead of weapons check, it's actually going to go to armor check. And an armor check is down here, which is, and I think actually I have check cursed armor. Oh, you know what? Because there's actually a few things different. So I'm going to take that cursed armor here, leave that at armor check, because it's almost the same, but the if-then statement is a little bit different. Okay, and it's not going to go to inventory choices anymore. It's going to go to equip. And I need to take out this substitch because I'm not using that anymore. There we go. And then use an item. There are no cursed items here yet, so I don't need to put that in. So I'm going to say just go to, I can't remember what I called the substitch, so let's just go down, your armor, check magic. Okay, so let's go to check magic. Go to check magic. Okay. So now let's see. Okay, so now it tells me what I'm carrying. I'm gonna go back and to this choice. So now, okay, so list or use an item. List or use an item sounds like you're selling it, like list your house, like that kind of thing. So I gotta think of something better than that. So list or use an item. Use a weapon, wear armor, use an item. Okay, there we go. So use a weapon. Now it's going to, obviously, your hands and feet. Use your fists and feet. Don't have a choice. So that's all I've got is my choice. So then after that, it goes back to here. Do I want it to go back to here, or do I want it to go back to here? Because maybe now I want to change my armor. All I've got is the heavy wool sweater. It doesn't let me do that. Okay, so when I try the armor, it actually goes back to here. Same with use an item. And that's all I've got. List or use an item. Huh. So two of them go back to list or use an item. Armor goes back to this choice. And so I think what I want to do is... Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this here. So after weapons check, it looks at all the variables to see what isn't equal to 0. So if something equals to 1, it means you have it. 0 means you don't. So if it's greater than 0, it's going to tell you that you have these things. Then it goes to weapon switch and allows you to equip the weapon, and then it goes to inventory choices. So actually I'm going to have it go back to equip. And then I'm going to show you something else. So equip. And then armor check. And those blank lines that I just deleted here, like this, they mean nothing. If you have a blank line for in your code, it's not going to affect it. Just ignores it. But I don't want that many blank lines, and I only and the reason why I have these blank lines is just because it's easier to read when I'm looking at it. Okay, so now it goes to armor check, tells you what you have, and then allows you to switch your armor if you want. And if not, it's going to go back to, oh, that's interesting. I should have gone to inventory choices. I wonder why I didn't. It's going to go back to equip. Okay, so check your magic and your items, and then actually gives you this choice: use an item, back to inventory. Whereas the other one, it doesn't. Equipment, inventory, back to inventory menu. So now it's going to go to equip. Use an item. I wonder if I should put that in to the rest, because I can make it a substitch for all the others, if that would be easier. Let me just see how that sort of plays out here. Use an item, or back to inventory. Say back to inventory. If I go use a weapon, obviously your hands and feet. Use your fists and feet. Yeah, I think it can go kind of either way. It works both ways. I'm going to just leave it for now, and if it annoys me later on when I'm working on the game, then I can always make that choice. Then I can always fix it or change it. But right now, I kind of like. I think I kind of like how it's working out right now. So let's see here. Okay. So now what I want to do is, because I've added in that extra feature of having a character class, I can make it so that certain character classes can't use certain things. So if if you find magic armor, for example, and you try to equip it, it's not going to allow you because you can't wear armor. You have to stick to the hefty wool sweater that your dad knit you. So let's just see that. So here, I could actually put it right in here, which would make it actually pretty easy to do. Although I do know that I have in room 1, you find magical plate armor. So here, for example, the choice is take the armor and put it on. So what I could do here is, before this variable gets changed, is put in an if or else statement. So if I go open squiggly bracket, so this is if, I think the wizard would not be able to use this. So if wizard, the variable wizard, is equal to, you know what, I'm going to say actually if it's greater than 0. Because that way, if I ever decide to change the variable so that it has higher values, because I think actually right now the value it goes to is 2. So if wizard is greater than 0, and then the colon is the if your if full statement, then what I want to have happen is you cannot use plate armor. Okay. Then minus sign, else, colon. Then it's going to allow you to go through the getting the armor, close squiggly bracket, and there we go. So now, if you are a wizard, you can't take the cursed plate armor. So I could also put that in when you're going to purchase equipment too, so that you actually can't purchase it. So instead of just having it that you can't put it on, you can't purchase it at all. Like you're not strong enough to take it to begin with. And that's the other thing too, is that if you wanted to make it so that definitely certain character classes are going to have better rolls than other ones, you could do that too. And you would want to do that by, where did I put create character? So what you would do for that is actually put in the role stats, instead of it just being here, you would go to rogue, for example. So maybe I want it that the rogue is going to have a strength bonus between 1 and 4, and a intelligence bonus between, I'll leave it at 1 to 6. That's good enough. And a dexterity bonus between 1 and 10, and constitution 1 to 6. And then I'm going to take out plus rogue. And then instead of saying rogue equals 2, I can say rogue equals 1. And then that way I know actually through the rest of the game that 0 means you're not a rogue, 1 means you are a rogue. So then it kind of makes those if-then statements easier when you want to attribute certain items to certain classes. So here, I'm going to also do that here. Yeah, because actually I like this a little bit better. This is kind of how it works, programming these types of games too. Like, you just eventually start to figure out, oh yeah, this works a little bit better. And okay, wizard equals 2, so rogue. I need to. Oh, I see what I did. Okay, so actually all I want to copy is this part here. Okay, so now wizard equals 2. Oh, and you notice that right now I'm kind of fixing this and I'm putting a space between the tilde and the wizard. You don't have to. I'm doing that to keep consistency just because I like those spaces, because the white space actually helps me to visualize and see it better. So okay, so now I have wizard is equal to, I'm going to say 1. Hit points between 3 and 8, that's fine. Strength between 1 and 4, I think that's still fair. Intelligence is going to be between 1 and 10. Dexterity is going to be between 1 and 6. And Constitution, I'm going to leave it at 1 to 6. So warrior, and I don't want to overpower the warrior here either. So what I'm going to do is warrior, I'm going to make either a value of 0 or 1. Hit points between 3 to 12. Okay, strength between 1 and 10. Intelligence between 1 and 4. Dexterity between 1 and 8. And Constitution between 1 and 8. So if I do that, I'm given the possibility for the warrior to be really overpowered. So then I would want to make sure throughout the program that I have enough little nuggets for the wizard and rogue to sort of balance that out too. Because I don't want to, everybody's like, oh, I'm going to be the warrior because the warrior is the best. Now I want to make sure that, all the classes are fun to play. Alright, so now I have that. So what I need to do here is, because if I leave these here and then down here under roll stats it re-rolls them, it's going to change those variables again. So I want to take this out, and now that's gone. Oops. Okay. So there, now that's gone. So now everybody has their own their own variables. And then the other thing I can do too that's kind of cool is I can make it so that if you're going to use something, that you actually have to have. I'm going to restart this here. You can actually have, like say for example, you want to use lockpick tools. There's a little bit of intelligence involved in that, a little bit of dexterity. So what you could say is that if your dexterity is less than 4, then it's automatic failure. You can't use it. Your hands are they're too big and you can't quite get it out. And so that's really important. Or you find a book. Well, if your intelligence isn't over a certain level, then maybe you can't read it. Or there's all sorts of things like that you can do that would be really, really good. So to do that in the way that I've programmed it is all of the so for using things, like for example, remove curse. So remove curse is you find a scroll and you read it to do that. So it'd be kind of actually, because then you have to think about it. So if I make the warrior's possibility for intelligence lower, then, and this is when I use intelligence in this kind of concept too, because warriors are actually pretty intelligent. They're not they're not stupid. there's a lot of complicated things that they have to learn in order to become a warrior. So what I would want to be clear about there is that in this case, it's just that they spent their time learning how to do things like multiple uses of swords. When is what are the best weightlifting techniques, things like that. Whereas they didn't spend their time learning how to read in this case, unless of course you roll really well in your stats, and then your character maybe went to both. You could even have it eventually that they can multi-class. So after they've been a warrior for a little while, and sort of the next version of the game, they decide to go and further their education because they've gotten enough gold, so they can pay for for tuition. There's just lots of stuff that you can do with this that is pretty cool. So what I'm gonna have it. Oh, so what I don't want to do is make it so that no matter what, the warrior can't get rid of the curse, because if the warrior is the only one who can put on the cursed armor, and then they're the only one who's not smart enough to, I shouldn't say smart enough, that's a horrible thing, they're the only one who didn't learn to read, then they won't be able to get rid of the curse. So instead, what I'm going to have it is remove curse. So first it checks to see if you are cursed. And if you're not cursed, then it kind of you still use, if you say I'm going to use the remove curse scroll and or a potion or whatever you found, and you're not cursed, you still used it, and then it's still gone. So that's one of the things that I have in here. And so what I'm going to say is so first it checks, are you cursed? You aren't cursed. Then you've used the item, and it returns back to wherever you came. If you are cursed, then everything else happens. So then it takes away the curse, like the cursed armor, and then it returns you to wearing the hefty wool sweater knit by your dad. So what I want here actually is I don't know if this is going to work, but let's find out. I want the open squiggly for another sort of if-then statement. And then I'm going to say that if intelligence is less than okay, here, let me just take a look here at create character. Warrior intelligence between 1 and 4. So 1 would be the lowest that you could have. 4 is the largest that you could have. Um, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Wizard can have between 3 and 10. The warrior can have between 1 and 6. So as long as your intelligence is greater than 3, then it's going to do all of this. Otherwise, so else it just goes to curse return, but it's going to say you need to save your gold to go to school to learn to read. So I'm going to say, alas, you spent your education learning the important tasks of good health and I'm just going to say have good health. That's good. Because realistically, I mean, I don't want to make it seem like in my game that there's only one type of intelligence out there, and that's being able to be book smart, because I don't think that's true. I want to make it so that people, when they're playing this game, everybody's technically smart in this game. You just have different types of smart. Like the warrior having, +8 on their strength is actually just, it's a type of intelligence. The rogue having a +10 on his dexterity, that's a type of intelligence. So that's kind of what I want to make sure in my game, because I want, again, I want it to be fun playing any kind of a character, and I don't want to create this situation where it seems like only the wizard is smart and only the warrior is strong, uh, because there's so many different types of strengths and intelligence, and it's really important, I think, to if you're a writer and you're writing this kind of stuff, that you recognize that. So then I need another close squiggly bracket so that I can close up my if then statement, and then that should work. Okay, so I have no errors, which is good. So now it's going to see if I'm going to call it your book smart, your book intelligence is of a certain level, and then you're able to read the scroll. And then I can also have it too. If your strength is a certain level, then you can lift a sword. And if you get poisoned, for example, here, well, uh, here, so poisoned. I can even have, one of the things that I can put on here is, instead of you just getting poisoned, if you drink the poison and your constitution is a certain level, maybe the poison doesn't affect you, or it affects you less. So getting all these variables in the game allows you to do that, which is really kind of cool. So I really like the fact that now I've got some different classes. I think that makes the game really fun. Make sure you save your project, which is what I just did. You can't see it on OBS, but you go to File, Save Project, and then it saves the project. And yeah, I think that's a really really good handle on getting this game, making it a little bit more fun. So I hope that uh, you give this a try too. Try Ink, see what you think of it, have some fun with it, and thank you very much for tuning in to Tech Tips. I really hope you have a good day, and let me know how your games are going. All right, see you.